Hi. 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 Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. My name, of course, is Elma Hexblade, your head guildmaster and chief barista. Happy Friday! And, of course, it is Friday, the happiest day of the week. The best day of the week. Because why? We get to learn things. You know, instead of enjoying our nice weekend, we get to use our brain spaces and, absorb knowledge. And honestly, I think that's, the best thing ever. So, you know what? We get to learn things. And not boring things, either. Not like the boring stuff you would learn in, I don't know, school. But interesting things. You can't build an education around it, that's for sure, but it's still fun. I'd say, I'd say fun. Anyway, we got a bunch of stuff, and I started late, and that's my own fault. So, let's dive right into it. Let me just flip the switch here. Alright, so first video here is this one I just discovered from Jet Kuso, and do you guys remember Monsuno? Do you guys remember Monsuno? I don't. That's why we're here. Apparently, there's a Bakugan ripoff. Let's learn about it. And let me just boost that. There we go.
Hi, I'm Jet Kuso, and the year is 2011. Bakugan Battle Brawlers was in full swing. Beyblade was back in action, Pokemon was as powerful as ever, and the toy industry was in a panic to come up with something, anything, to cash in on the craze. And from that period of panic and innovation came perhaps the most simultaneously unique and unoriginal toy line ever made. This is a story full of twists, turns, arrogance, loss, and even murder. Metaphorically.
Murder.
Judas, no!
Basically, if you've ever been a fan of battling monster shows or toy lines, you're gonna want to watch till the very end. This is the tragic story of Monsuno.
Monsuno.
I know for a fact that if you're watching this channel, you've probably eaten food before. I know I do, but sometimes it's difficult to get food that's actually good for me that I can actually afford.
Let me just skip ahead of this ad. There we go.
For the tragedy of Monsuno to make sense, first you need some context, so bear with me. The early 2000s were a golden era for what we in the business call toy-based battling games. Following the success of Pokemon, about 8 billion franchises appeared from the mist, trying to cash in on the battling monster hype and add their own spin to it. Perhaps the most successful Me Too brands of that era were those that tried to transpose the battling monster concept into new mediums that Pokemon had never covered. This culminated in the incredibly crowded toy-based game genre. Beyblade, Beat-em-on, Zevos, Tactics, Gormiti, yada yada yada.
I miss Beat-em-on. Those were cool. Those are still cool.
Yada yada. That sounds exactly like one of those names. In some ways, these toy lines couldn't be more different from each other, but the common denominator was that every single one came with an attached battle-based game that most people, fans included, never got to play. The genre ultimately culminated in Bakugan Battle Brawlers in 2009, a marble-based monster game that took the best of everything before it and put it in a streamlined, creative, and collectible package. The phenomenon of Bakugan triggered its own wave of Me Too's, no longer trying to cash in on Pokemon, but trying to cash in on the cash-in. Hasbro relaunched Beyblade in the US, as well as a Transformers-based line called Bot Shots.
What the?
Oh, Bot Shots. Meanwhile,
They look cool.
LEGO not only added game feature to Bionicle in the Glatorian line, but put out LEGO Ninjago as basically a complete mashup of Bakugan and Beyblade plus ninjas. For some reason, literally no one remembers that Ninjago started out as a Battletop card game. Post a comment if you ever played the Ninjago Spinners game. By 2012,
I forgot
Bakugan
about
had
that.
reached its zenith
Not
and
gonna
was
lie.
starting to decline as the brand lost focus. And in this, the toy company called Jack Specific saw its opportunity to pick up the slack with a bold new toy/game concept.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
Concept.
Oh yeah, this is perfect. This is gonna do numbers. The Monsuno toy line had 3 components: cores, monsters, and cards. I never got to play the card game. Let's look at the toys. You may look at this wide array of funky monster toys and wonder how they could possibly turn into anything action-packed like a Bakugan is. It's a good question, because perhaps this is the most clever part of the whole toy line. Each of the Monsuno monsters folds up in a specific way, bending and squishing till they're able to fit into a plastic tubey guy called a core. There's a green marked plug side to each folded creature that plugs into a spring-loaded plate inside the core where something internal locks into place. Click. Oh, what a good click. 2 players face off with their loaded cores and shout, Monsuno go? Monsuno core spin? Monsuno strike? These things always have some kind of stupid catchphrase. Hang on. Ah! Both players launch their cores while saying Monsuno TM launch.
Trademark.
Okay,
Hey.
let's try it. Monsuno TM launch. Hey, that's pretty good. Once one core is spinning, the opponent takes their core and does the same. And if you're very lucky, the resulting impact will be kinda cool. Monsuno TM launch.
Doink.
Whoa! Okay, so check it out. The cores don't have any sort of buttons or triggers. The mechanism is all internal, and the Monsuno won't be released unless it receives a significant enough blunt force impact. Usually this means just slamming it against the table, or your knee, or your roommate's cat, or your brother's car. Your brother. Never mind, just use the table.
Doink.
So the basic play pattern of Monsuno is launching cores at each other and trying to get a strong enough impact that both of the monsters pop out. This is not very easy. Monsuno are hard to aim as is, and the battlefields they made, oh, they don't help. Oh, they're not good. They usually influence the path of the core very negatively, and on top of that, the different monsters and cores
come on,
have
hit.
vastly different impact tolerances.
Oh,
Some
didn't
have
even
such a
do
hair
it.
trigger that you can't even Monsuno TM launch them without an incident, while others simply won't release no matter how hard you try. When the line first came out, day one, my brother and I made a video called Let's Give Monsuno a Chance, where we set up the cameras and filmed our very genuine efforts to try to get the toys to work. We weren't impressed by the circus that ensued, but it was still pretty fun.
Gotta remember that one Kamen Rider. Yeah.
And most of the problems were caused by the battlefield changing the trajectory of each launch. But even more failures than that were the result of us not realizing you're supposed to launch a defending Monsuno first, then launch an attacking Monsuno at the one that's already spinning. This small change really
It looks... in theory, it's supposed to look cool, but it just kind of looks like a weird, like... I don't know the word for it, like... birth? Like, it just kind of, like, pops out, just, like, randomly.
You're supposed to launch a defending Monsuno first, then launch an
Like,
attacking Monsuno.
It gets, like,
at the
popped
one that's
out, and
already
it just, like,
spinning.
it just, like, flails all over the place. And the container's empty now. So that's just gone. And now we just have kind of, like, this monster who's probably not oriented right. Just kind of on the ground, and you have to, like, form him back.
This small change really fixes things. Despite the functional challenges, if you're using them correctly, a bit of practice and trial and error works wonders, and the core back and forth gameplay can be pretty fun. Really though, the best part of the toy line
it
is
almost
the
looks
monsters
cool.
themselves.
The power of the in the palm of my hand.
Tiny, little, boys, little guys, yes!
Oh, yeah!
The monster designs for Monsuno were incredible. Creatively crafted creatures carefully constructed to cradle comfortably in cramped conduits conceived to copy credible creators. The very engineering and sculpting of each Monsuno monster create a vast menagerie of lovable beasts.
They
in an
all
era where a
look kind of
Bakugan
cool,
toy
not
could
gonna lie.
imply a monster, but they still looked like they were made out of an orb. Monsuno was different. With a Monsuno toy, you could tell exactly what the monster in the show was going to look like, and vice versa.
To be honest, I can't tell what the monsters look like.
This level of design with things like Webum and Trox Ultra, but Monsuno managed to fully realize the Pokemon/Pokeball formula in actual physical space.
Yeah.
Now, this had its own downsides.
It just
The
launches
monsters are
in a
very
funny
small,
manner.
and the activations just aren't very visible. Rather than the engaging physical action component that Bakugan has, during gameplay, Monsuno monsters felt highly secondary. Basically just a missile that fires out of the core so fast you can't see it with a little
They just go, and they just go away.
But for all the downsides, the upsides are evident and adorable. A collection
They
of
just go
Monsuno
away, they
monsters
just
is
fall off the little
delightfully
playmat
cute.
guy.
And just like with Bakugan, it's fun to pop one out and see what it turns into.
But all these designs are
Really
cute.
feels a little bit redundant that each monster has its own cores when the cores only have 3 different molds, one for each faction. I feel like it really could have been more like Beyblade, where a core is just a launcher that any monster can be loaded into. I think they were kind of trying to change things to fit that idea in the second season with like 3 packs that come with 1 core and 3 Monsuno, but that stuff was like never distributed widely, and I'll probably have to talk about that another time. Storage, by the way, would have been a lot more difficult if not for the core lock feature. Each core has a switch you flip to lock the monster inside the tube, which is absolutely necessary for any of the accessories to function. Yeah.
God, okay,
There were
gotta
accessories.
imagine not doing a great job with that and just destroying your little
Accessories are one
toy.
of the things that makes a brand
No.
like this immersive. And Legacy Bakugan was great with accessories. Gloves, launchers, cases, clips, shelves? I totally forgot they made officially licensed Bakugan shelves back then. In the same
buy a
way,
shelf.
Monsuno put out the stock clip, the battle bandolier, the strike case, the battle bag, the core transport case.
That looks cool.
The strike glove. It's a fingerless glove with a red flashlight on it. Silence brand. Some of this stuff was obviously a little bit bloated, but the stock clip specifically was actually really good. Unlike Baku Clip at the time, it had storage for enough cards to play the intermediate game, and it also worked with the Battle Bandolier, which had a deck box that could be swapped for the stock clip. Snazzy stuff.
Man, it really looks like you're either like holding shotgun shells with these or like a mysterious virus in each one of those and you're going to inject them into your opponent. That's all I keep thinking about. Bakuduns look pretty naff. Yeah. Like, I think the problem with the Monsunos is just like, you don't really see the monster when you're done with the spinny fun part. Because you have to, like, pick it up and then, like, fiddle with it. With Bakugan, at least you just put down the card and then, like, throw the Bakugan. And then, because magnets, it latches on and then triggers the transformy bit. It's a little bit more... It does look like... This does look like a Kamen Rider belt. It really does. It's so close to one.
Stylish. The strike case was made in the exact same style as Bakugan cases, and made for half-decent storage at least. Meanwhile, launchers in Monsuno suck exactly as much as launchers in Bakugan did, with one exception?
You get to shotgun them out.
The Auto Strike multi-launcher, I think, warrants
It's a
little
shotgun.
explanation. It's a lot, and it kind of immediately reveals a problem with
Oh,
Monsuno.
uh-oh.
An utter,
That one failed.
utter lack of focus. I mean, good grief. Plushies, PJs, giant white
no.
sock'em bopper Hulk hands. There were so many products that didn't have anything to do with gameplay. Like the Wild Core. It's a motorized Monsuno core without any monster features. Just a button that stops it from spinning if you hit it with a
A spinny guy.
you hit it with a Monsuno. I don't have an end for that bit. Kind of just
It's just
bunch
a
of stuff.
it's just a
and the
spinny
game
guy.
itself wasn't streamlined either, due to a phenomenon I like to call choose your way to play syndrome. The beginner format used no cards, the intermediate format used some cards, And then the advanced version of the game used a lot of cards.
Do you just want to play the
toys?
cards?
You'd think that would be counterproductive to the whole concept of a toy-based card game.
Imagine how fun that must be.
Right, it's not great.
By playing the toy-based card game without the toys.
It's hard to explain.
It sounds miserable, honestly, actually.
The truth, it was trying to be everything at the same time. Jakks Pacific went all out. They put out Halloween costumes in year 1. The commercials were dubsteppy.
Spin, explode, into action, crash into battle.
This brand was meant to be huge, and the amount of money they must have spent, I can't even imagine. The TV show ran for a full 3 seasons, and I recall it being pretty okay. I didn't watch a lot of it, but that's also
This looks like some poor kid's schlock.
My time, so
Oh god.
you can't really blame Monsuno. Monsuno wanted to be Pokemon, Bakugan, and Beyblade all at the same time. And you want to know the crazy part? I actually think it got close. The toys were good, the gameplay was fun, and the whole thing had a slick polish of good design and expensive marketing. Monsuno had huge potential, but is a lack of focus really enough to explain
Man,
its
look at all
failure?
those plastic
The Bakugan
pieces.
reboot has many similar problems. Too many versions of the game, choose your way to play syndrome, a show that's totally disconnected from the play pattern. And yet, the Bakugan reboot has been insanely successful.
Monsuno
So what
Watch
happened?
Party? I
What's
wouldn't
the
even attempt to
difference?
try and
Well,
find this series
something I failed to
intentionally, let alone.
When Monsuno released,
Let alone
the toy-based
for
game genre
fun.
wasn't simply declining in popularity.
It just seems so weird
it was
and
being
or bad.
murdered.
Oh, here we go. It's gonna die. Ah, that's why it dies. This makes sense.
No, it wasn't the bloated product line and unfocused gameplay that killed Monsuno. It was beauty killed the beast. Right before Monsuno hit the scene, so
Hello.
did frickin' Skylanders. The first good Toys to Life game, and the only thing that any child spent their Christmas money on for a solid 3 years. Toys to Life, the integration of a digital game with physical toys that would come to life inside the program. It swept through and disrupted the toy market in a way we are just starting to recover from. None of the Skylanders copycats were anywhere near as successful, and just like app-based toy integration games, the whole genre ended up having no staying power. But regardless, that year, any consumer money that might have gone into toy-based action games like Bakugan or Monsuno started funneling into Skylanders, and Monsuno was left as the last dying scream of the genre as it had been. I'd sunk
Honestly,
a lot
that
of my hopes into
kinda makes
Monsuno
sense.
back in the day.
Like,
When
it's
I was
part of it's, like,
14,
bad timing.
I pivoted my channel from Bakugan into Monsuno, hoping it would be the next big thing. And in the short term, it paid
Also, this man had a YouTube career when he was 14. God bless him.
off. Jakks Pacific found my channel and set me up as a small-scale spokesperson for the brand. They sent me toys, brought me to events to film, got me interviews with the creators, and in turn, I learned business skills that I still use to this day when working with toy companies.
God bless him,
Then,
honestly.
within a year of its launch, Monsuno flopped. I lost contact with the marketing lady I'd been working with, and so the Jet Kuso channel faded away. But I don't regret it. Monsuno was fun. On paper, it was a perfect idea, with a good enough execution that it really could have worked. But Jakks Pacific couldn't have known how big Skylanders would be, and maybe there's a lesson in that. We can only make plans with the information we have, and just because it turns out bad doesn't mean you should look back and say the plan was bad.
It
So
just
make your
doesn't even get
plans,
to the arena.
Be smart about it. Chase
It
what
just
you
falls
want,
around.
and don't be down on yourself if it doesn't work out. You did your best. Keep trying.
We got to learn lessons from a
Thanks
failed
again
kids
to HelloFresh
game.
for sponsoring this video. And also,
Yeah,
don't
it's
forget to
okay.
like the
Jakks are
video,
making big bucks off
subscribe to my channel, and
Mario and
click the bell
Sonic
icon so
licenses.
you'll never miss
Wait, does Jakks Pacific make like the licensed Mario figurines and stuff? I don't feel bad for them. I'm just like, oh man. Well, they did a flop. And also, honestly, Jet Kuso is more of a Bakugan focused channel. So, I don't really have much attachment, but I very much respect him for his like journalistic opportunity. All right. Here is so that was cool. Thank you, Jen. Next video is from our wonderful, my favorite channel, one of my favorite channels is Answer in Progress, who this one's only recent. Why Japan's internet is weirdly designed. When the Mario movie comes out, they'll make another they'll fuck it up, but it's okay because they have the license. So, okay, before we start, I have the immediate theory of SMS and smartphones. Well, and smartphones and feature phones were used before then. I have a feeling I'm right, but let's see her longer, better answer. So let's see. I also realized, oops, I did a misinformation is apparently the first bit. Oops.
The internet in Japan looks different. In a world of minimalist designs and large clean images, websites in Japan seem to mirror the language and culture of their home. Colorful and a little cramped. At least that's according to a theory I read back in 2013 and have shared with a bunch of people since. There's just one problem. I don't know if it's true. So let's fix that. In this video, we use an AI to figure out what's so special about Japanese web design.
Won't spoil it. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Even across an ocean, it impacts you today. I think I'm gonna give up. Thank you to Hostinger for sponsoring this video. Let's start off with how I realized that I may have been lying to people for the past decade. I was setting up a website to document
Oops, I did a
project.
misinformation.
While scrolling through the templates, the following 3 thoughts
Oopsie.
passed through my head. 1. Wow, these themes are really minimalist. 2. Remember how Japan, a nation known for minimalism, ironically has really cluttered web pages? And 3. How did I know that? Has that ever happened to you? Like, you accept something as fact when you're a kid, but now that your prefrontal cortex has finished developing, you think back and you're like, hold on.
My spider sense is tingling.
What could possibly be so special about Japan that they just decide to have different web design practices than the rest of the world, apparently? And even if the article was true, it came out 10 years ago. I don't know if it's still true. This is the internet. Twitter was normal one day, and then it might be dead by the time you watch this, to be honest. The internet moves fast. So
I wish it was, Sabrina. I wish it was.
Modern test. I want to see if there is something unique about Japanese web design, and if there is, why? Am I just overcompensating because I realize I've been doing misinformation? Probably. Let's do this. So I tweeted this. Are you in Asia? Have you been using the internet over the past 5 to 10 years? Please hit me up. And it worked. My DMs are completely destroyed, but I have been chatting with a bunch of awesome people, and no one really knows what I'm talking about. I am so worried this video is gonna go nowhere. I took those replies to mean that this web design thing really might just be isolated to Japan. So I decided to verify by checking out the most popular websites in every country in the world. So many of these websites are just Google or manga reading websites. Are we just all weebs who don't know things?
Yeah.
I categorize the websites based on their contents. Okay, I know that this shouldn't surprise
I'm
you,
weeb.
but
I'm
the
weeb, and I don't know
internet is full
things.
of not great stuff. Just looking at some of these categories. We've got explicit, illegal, spam, suspected malware. I'm just gonna... I then accessed each website using a web crawler and a VPN to take screenshots of the local page. So because of GDPR, websites will ask you if you want cookies, which I respect, except that pop-up blocks the entire frickin' web page. So I need to figure out how to say accept cookies or allow cookies or okay, cool, cookies in every language. I thought computers were supposed to make things easy. Just look at this. Also, the way that they've implemented these buttons are different, so I don't just need to know the language, I need to find the specific button element to click and then code it in. I think I'm gonna give up. Okay, so
Modern
now
coder
we have
discovers languages.
671 screenshots of websites across like 200 countries. Ideally, I'd like to know how each website compares to every other website, but that would mean doing like 3 million comparisons? My brain is too soft and small to do that, but luckily, we have computers. So I ended up using machine learning to extract the most prominent features of each website screenshot. I then compared those extractions to one another using a statistical method of dimensionality reduction called T-distributed stochastic neighbor embeddings. Please come back. All you need to know
I know
is
what that
this lets
meant.
us see how our AI
I know what that meant.
organizes and groups our website screenshots. The closer it puts screenshots together, the more similar their designs, and the further apart means more dissimilar. That's all I'm doing, so now let's run this. Kind of anticlimactic.
I took a whole class on this.
So many pictures, so little resolution. But if you look closely, there are clumps that have started to form. We've got Facebook, Google, websites that would not let me in, Twitter, and Wikipedia. But the thing is that these websites are more exception than the rule. They aren't representative of any nation's design style because they are in basically every nation. So I'm not gonna care about them. Instead, what I do care about is this thing. What I like to call the clump of interest. If we look closely at this clump, we can see that it's sorted along two axes.
I like to be a clump of interest.
Vertically, it's pretty obvious. It goes from dark to light.
It's
But
how I introduce myself
horizontally,
when dating.
You probably can't tell because you can't see anything. But on the left side, we've got images with a lot of empty space. A little bit of text, very simple images. As we move to the middle, we have larger images and 2 or 3 columns of content. But finally, as we move furthest to the right, we have a lot going on.
Hoodie's
A
here.
whole bunch
Time
of
to celebrate.
columns, really tiny images, often of content that I cannot show you. I tried so hard to filter. The internet just has so much I'm sorry. Anyway, those are the visual patterns that guide this clump. Now, where does Japan fit in? Oh yeah, I've just changed all the screenshots to little circles to make it easier to see things more clearly.
Oh, that's
So,
weird. That
Japan.
didn't work.
Ta-da!
Uh-oh.
It's the red dots. We've got a little Google over there. Right off the bat, we can see that it kind of avoids this sector up here, but we don't know if that is a common distribution. Maybe a bunch of other countries avoid this corner. We need to compare.
I think it needs to be
let's
like
see
a
how it
one at a
compares
time
against
thing. Sorry,
the United
Winner.
States, Canada, the UK, Ukraine, Indonesia, Mexico. Are you seeing this? All of the countries have wide varieties of web design except for Japan. Japan seems to be avoiding this sector that is defined by dark, empty spaces. In other words, Japan's websites are brightly colored and dense, just like the theory claims. Did I just prove something? I'm genuinely surprised that we found something. I just wish you could see it better. Oh wait, you can. I made a website. It has everything that has been and will be in this video and more. Is this my methodology of the project from start to finish? Are those side-by-side comparisons over time? A full resolution photo of the plot I projected? And here's how I did it. I went to Hostinger, who's sponsoring this video.
Wild
and I checked
ass.
out their plans. They have
Absolute
Minecraft
wild,
servers.
wild,
Hostinger
wild.
is a web hosting provider and internet domain registrar. Basically what that means is that they take all of the
Shame I
technology
left my meds so I can't take my
antibiotics.
antibiotics. Yeah.
And they bring it into one place.
Hell yeah.
That sounds confusing.
I love
Don't
taking
worry.
antibiotics.
They have tutorials and dedicated 24/7 customer service, and they make it so easy. I decided to use their WordPress hosting plan because I made a website from scratch before, and it did not go well. A couple of you had some issues. Just everything was wrong with it. Another issue? It seems completely or mostly unoptimized for mobile. Building a website is hard, but Hostinger makes it easy. WordPress has a bunch of themes and plugins available for free. And there are
WordPress
no
makes
limits on
things
design or
slightly easy,
functionality.
but
So you
it's
can fully
okay.
customize your website without even knowing.
Anyway, we know about websites. I need to make my own website, to be honest. I still haven't done that.
Internet looks.
Okay, there we go.
Let's figure out why. So I've just spent the past few weeks doing more research. I really thought that I had finished the hard part. But no, I actually ended up turning back to the original theory, because if they were right that Japanese web design is different, I might as well see if their reasoning is true as well. Now, the author had a bunch of ideas, but the 3 that really stood out to me were characters, culture, and technology, because these also kept coming up in my Twitter DMs. So let's test them out one by one, starting with characters. Did you know that Japanese characters are literally built different? You see, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean writing systems share a bunch of logographic characters. These are individual symbols that represent whole words. The sheer amount of these CJK characters in existence lead to massive font file sizes. For comparison, this is a font that's designed to support Greek, Cyrillic, and Latin-based writing systems. It contains less than 4,000 glyphs. That's typography speak for a representation of a character. These are 3 different glyphs. Now let's look at a font that supports all of those languages, as well as Chinese, Japanese, and Korean.
Oh, let's go. Unicode time, baby.
Do not have capital letters. It's so much more. So
Fear.
this means that Japanese websites have significantly fewer font options, since not many designers want to take on this challenge. The fonts that do exist might load in a little more slowly compared to other writing systems, since they're pulling from libraries that are massive. And finally,
Also, dear God, are you going to make a new font for every single Japanese character and make sure they're all readable? That's a challenge.
That lack of capitalization means that graphic designers lose a tool for creating visual hierarchy. These are all factors that could realistically cause design differences between regions that use CJK characters and the rest of the world. Except, it doesn't. From what I've found, other regions that use CJK characters don't exhibit the same design patterns as Japan. So we learned something interesting. It was just useless. Put that on my tombstone. Anyway. But what about culture? This was a tricky one because I was a STEM student, so I don't have a lot of the domain knowledge necessary to accurately identify and compare global cultures. However, being a STEM student also means that didn't stop me from trying by using geographic proximity.
I love
But that
being a
failed.
STEM student.
So then I used a binary identifier for if a country was part of the global north or global south. Also no pattern. But like I said, I don't know if this is the best way to compare cultures. However, given what I've found, I'm just not convinced that culture is the primary cause of Japan's unique web design. Thus, all we're left with is technology. How hardware and software shape the way websites are designed today, and why Japan didn't follow that pattern.
There we go.
So, let's start from the beginning.
My glasses.
And go on a journey through time. The World Wide Web is invented as a way for nerds to share documents, which is why every website looked like this. Not good, but the people knew it could be so much more. It could share ideas, house businesses, share pictures of boobies. At a whopping 0.05 megabits per second,
Boobies.
the average person could access a whole new world of information, pixel by pixel.
Gotta love the Sanic
That didn't
image
stop
in the
people from
background.
enjoying the internet. I mean, if you don't know any better, I guess it's not its own circle of hell. However, the internet takes off. In just 2 years, we go from 2,000 websites to over 1 million with no signs of slowing down. Scripting languages make websites more interactive. Almost too interactive. This is the internet. I'm not here to interact. And Flash gave designers so much freedom and gave children so many iconic games. The question wasn't what can we do, it was what can't we do? And sure, if you were using the wrong browser or browser version, some websites might not work, but when they did, it was glorious. So why don't websites look like this anymore? Why aren't they diverse and chaotic and
I love the Space Jam
Well,
website.
2 reasons. One, a lot of those 90s websites were unstable, unsecure, and inaccessible. So standards were established to make sure websites use the same building blocks. And 2, search engines. While early search engines used information submitted or curated by webmasters and web users, they evolved to use bots that crawled the internet, scraped information, and informed search results. Initially, search engines just checked if a website's contents contained search terms. But then webmasters just started spamming key terms to get to the top of search results. So then search engines started valuing how often a website is referenced by other websites.
Math.
Then companies started paying to be linked on random websites to get to the top of search results. This cycle continued until eventually search engines became so powerful and so sophisticated that websites had no choice but to play by the rules. Web design became more structured and uniform to make it easier for search engines to find them. Now you might think that the differences in how search engines work is what caused websites to look different around the world. Except Google is basically the only search engine, and it's been that way since 2005. In every
Yeah.
country except China, websites would want to optimize for Google search.
Yeah.
So what else could have caused Japanese web design to fracture off? Well, we need to consider this. The rise of smartphones. It's 2000.
Are you getting it yet?
All of these websites that were designed for desktop viewing are too difficult to navigate on small phone screens and too data heavy to load on limited plans.
You know, you could help me out if you're on Wi-Fi, if you could just get off.
The easy answer was to start simplifying navigation, reducing content, making things bigger. This all resulted in this minimalist design that we're all familiar with, that we call modern.
Hell.
So it seems like it wasn't language. or
Absolute
culture that
hellscape
caused
of a
Japan's web
website
to
design.
fracture off from the rest of the world. Instead, it's that their websites never adopted the practices for mobile-friendly web design. But why? And that's because the Japanese smartphone revolution happened about 10 years before
There it
the rest
is.
of the world.
Yep,
Their
there it
phones
is.
had email in 99, cameras in 2000, 3G by 2001. They were so far ahead of the rest of the world, but domestic companies didn't feel the need to spread abroad because they were already profitable enough in Japan. But when the Western web began simplifying for the iPhone, Japanese web designers didn't need to do that because Japanese people weren't using the iPhone. Now, there are a couple of other reasons, like risk aversion, that might influence this, but it really seems like Japan's relationship with technology, specifically outdated technology, is the main reason why Japanese internet looks so different. And after looking at thousands of websites and learning the history of the internet, I realized that this isn't just fun trivia. This is relevant to us, even if you're not in Japan.
Also, a lot of
Tend
Japanese
to
products
go
aren't
to a
popular
Japanese
outside of
website,
Japan.
because these
True.
websites are artifacts of how hardware and software, the infrastructure of the internet, tangibly shapes the way we consume information. I can't process this because I don't read Japanese, but similarly, I get overwhelmed when looking at old Reddit. The small images.
I love old Reddit.
It's hard for me to understand because I'm not used to it. Now I want you to think about today's web technologies. Infinite scrolling, algorithmically selected content,
Hell.
cuts every 2 seconds.
Hell.
Not saying it's good or bad, but it sure as heck seems like it can impact us. And with the internet constantly in our pockets or our hands, it can shape the way we see the world. Yes, I'm just saying the medium is the message. But either way, have a lovely day.
I think about it. I'm like, old Reddit's good. I'm like, I want content-dense information, mainly because I don't want to sit here and scroll through content and to try and find what I want. Also, information dense. What's the point of having like big screens and stuff on the web if you can't read stuff? Okay. I always love answers in progress stuff. It's so good. Okay. You know what? Hold on. Let's take a small break. Let's take a small meme break, everybody. We got the new hyper-encabulator. Seriously, we got the new damn hyper-encabulator. Let's go. You guys remember encabulation? I do. I'm a master at it. Let's take a small meme break. You remember when turbo encabulation came out? I know, right?
The original machine had a base plate of pre-famulated
I remember the retro encabulator. Good shit.
Casing,
It made things so much better.
That the 2 spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panametric fan.
I could almost say
that
this
was
word
once
for
me,
word.
extolling the virtues of retroencabulation.
I just love that they
Now, I
brought
may
the
not
old
be
guy
dashing
back,
young
too.
on-camera narrator I once was, but if history tells me anything, it's that the Battle of Hastings was fought in 1066. But that's not the point. The point is that encabulation has a rich, sumptuous history with a delicate, flaky crust, relatively
Sumptuous.
unknown to emergent cybersecurity personnel.
Sumptuous history.
Allow me to elucidate. The discovery of encabulation was quite accidental when engineers in the skunk works at Mutual Polydynamics coupled a transcendental Hopper datoscope with a spiral decommutator via the application of anhydrous angling pins, resulting in a device that allowed frenetic mastication at alarming speeds.
Whoa, it
The
can
device was
masticate.
kept secret for many years, owing to the horrific accident that occurred shortly after its inception.
Oh, someone died.
Howsoever, the U.S. Department of Defense and the National Guard soon realized its potential as a weapon of choice,
Wait, hold on.
leading to its next
Wait a minute.
iteration.
I never caught this. Did he just say the U.S. Department of Defense?
Howsoever, the U.S. Compartment of Defense and the National Guard soon realized its potential
The
as a weapon
Compartment of
choice,
Offense.
leading to its next iteration, the hydroencabulator,
Okay, we
which
got
they
one.
nicknamed Fat Boy Slim.
Hey.
Understanding the grisly bare fact of the devastation that would result from its deployment, the project was retubed and transmogrified for industrial supplications. This version, known as the pseudo-encabulator, was the infernal Faustian engine that allowed post-war America to realize its aspirations and become the domino player on the world stage. Everybody was encabulating.
Nuclear
Well, I knew you wouldn't, but if I'd have told you before, the altimeter on the other side prenulates the canoe to spell Hepulus, and that's the entire secret. There you have it.
During the
Okay.
tumultuous 60s, the psycho-funkadelic vinyl encabulator emerged as the long-haired
Yeah,
people's answer to
baby.
their parents' aging technology, scarving a resonance groove in the hot wax of a new generation of encabulators. However, interest in encabulation waned precipitously until the late 80s, when the public was ready for the next transubstantiation of encabulation.
Public was
The
waiting.
extraordinarily populist turbo
The
encabulator.
the populist encabulator.
Involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, It is produced by the modial interaction of magnetoreluctance and capacitive directance.
The classic.
Which brings us to where we are today, floundering in the wake of the obscenely similar retro-encabulator, featuring yours truly. Living proof that leveraging existing assets is not plagiarism. Now, despite encabulation's unparalleled success in reducing sinusoidal depleneration through advanced dingle arm technology, it has failed to meet the unanticipated needs of the cybersecurity industry to create zero-trust operations in level 0 monitoring environments to ameliorate zero-day process attacks. That is why, despite zero interest from industry, the SANS ICS security team has taken it upon themselves to develop an entirely new level of encabulation, unresponsive to the needs.
I love this dumb stock footage. You guys know what this footage is? This footage is a person testing the durability of a seat, and those are like simulated asses.
Needs of the average
Those are like simulated asses for wear testing.
Consumer, and undoubtedly without merit in terms of concomitant asynchronous communication with client-side connectivity. Ladies and gentlemen,
those are words.
ISACs of all sectors, beer included, and children of all ages, may I present the hyper-encabulator.
Let's go. We got the new boy.
The hyperencabulator is nothing less than a key ruminant in the advancement of retrograde phenomenology, by which we can achieve results that are plastic, spastic, and cynosynclastic without sacrificing both normative reality and AI-informed modalities.
Yes.
You'll note that
I know these words.
The hyperencabulator utilizes indiscrete modules, making possible virtualized environments that include PLC-controlled stand-up reheaters, as well as Retanium-based cloud vendors. It also includes a dedicated OT Security Operations
Cloud
Center
bending
access
technology
panel, known as the SOC drawer. The primary modules of the hyperencabulator are stackable, DIN-rackable, and unhackable. And please note the complete absence of side fumbling, owing to the maintenance of tolerances allowing a tight conniption fit. Please take little note of this module. The open-source digital ghost daemon, which allows transparent OT invisibility owing entirely to the manipulation of airborne particulate matter and single-surface reflective devices.
I'm pretty sure that's a toaster. It lit up like a toaster.
Criminal infrastructure sectors where the dependability of supramid of Wendelsprox is essential. Our handsome ransomware hypervisor is perpetually alert to SQL injections of Gates tracking chips and quantum IoT identification dots.
The weird gestures like get me too.
Whenever a pen test is elected to assure the integrity of a safety instrumented system, our Purdue model modal module defeathers and plucks clean every proverbial fox in the henhouse.
That's just the game of Tempest, my man.
Wondering which metaphor got mixed first.
The weird ass hand gestures just keep getting me.
The hyperencabulator has reached a high level of
What's being tended to? What are we looking at? We're looking at the future.
Operated under the concept of manumatic stressor reduction and macroeconomic supply chain S-bombs. The hyperencabulator
We're watching memes. This is a meme break.
The principle of colonic effluvium expulsion and audible gaseous eructations.
That's the fart. You just
Thomas
described
Edison
the fart.
said that invention was 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. If that's the case, Thomas Edison should have invented deodorant, but I regress. In the near future,
colonic effluvium is a very funny phrase, especially for anybody who just has like 2 seconds and thinks about it. That's a poop joke.
hyperencabulation will ultimately replace all traditional cybersecurity.
Look at it, it's in space!
With osculating segmentation and
it's in a space station!
Making what was once thought to be impossible, probable. At SANS ICS Security, when we're not innovating, we're encabulating.
I love any form of an encabulation joke. It's so good. I can't believe I didn't even find it. It only came out this year. The public was ready for this. Very ready. I love this. It's so good. Anyway, let's keep going. We got a couple other videos here. Let me just pull up some extras. Oh, my bad. Hold on. This one is from one of my favorite creators of all time, Matt Parker from Stand Up Maths, very prominent mathematician on the YouTube scene. Here's a video about edge cases, which I thought was interesting. It's a little short, so.
I'm in Florida, in the USA, and this is Sugarloaf Mountain Road, which leads up to Sugarloaf Mountain. That point at the top there is 310 feet above sea level, and in 1926, the local Howey Tribune paper said that that point up there, Sugarloaf Mountain, is said to be the highest point in
Oh, this is a bit quiet. Hold on, let me
People
up
thought that is the highest point in the entire state. But it's not. The
You're an
highest
edge
point
case?
is actually
Aw,
317
that's so sweet.
miles.
I'm not sure what that means.
511 kilometers that way. Here at Britton Hill. Now, a hill doesn't sound like it's going to be the highest point in the state when there's a mountain option, but it is. Look over there, there's a monument that states this is the highest point in Florida, an altitude of 340
Hello, Sword.
feet.
Hello.
So why do people think that Sugarloaf Mountain is the highest point in the state? Well, it looks like it. Look at it. And not only that, we're no longer up on the panhandle, the distant part of Florida. We are on the peninsula, the main event of Florida. This is right in the central region near Orlando. Whereas I'm all the way over here at the very edge of the state. The state line is literally just over there. I think I can see Alabama literally from here. And because the ground's going up, and in Alabama I think it gets even higher, this is just the highest point in Florida because this is the end of Florida. That's why the highest point in Florida is not a peak like Sugarloaf Mountain. It's this gradient that just happens to hit the edge of all the cases we consider to be Florida. And there's an important lesson we can learn from this. There's a concept in computing called edge cases, and this example of everyone thinking Sugarloaf Mountain was the highest point because it's in the central, frequently visited part of the state reminds me, and bear with me here, of the time an F-22 Raptor aircraft lost all of its control systems because of a maths error. In December 2005,
story time.
the first F-22 Raptor aircraft went into service, and to quote the US Air Force, at the time, they had integrated avionics to make it the world's most capable combat aircraft, end quote. And frankly, for 150 million US dollars each, you'd kind of hope for. But, I mean, you got a lot for that money, whereas old aircraft, you had bits of string and wires that you'd pull, I guess, to move bits of the aircraft around. Not the F-22. Oh no, it was more computer than aircraft. It was basically all code.
F-35 is built in hopes and dreams.
2007, 6 of these F-22 Raptors were flying
And
from
failure.
Hawaii to Japan, when suddenly all of their systems, well, most of them, suddenly crashed. The navigation system went offline, the fuel system went offline, a whole bunch of their communication systems suddenly stopped working. But this wasn't some kind of malicious attack by an enemy or some kind of sabotage. No, what had happened is they'd merely flown across the international date line. That's the point where the time zones that go around the world stop going up 1 hour at a time, and suddenly you jump into yesterday. The US Air Force has not confirmed what actually went wrong, but it's pretty obvious that the plane flew over the international date line, the date suddenly skipped by a whole day, and the code freaked out, and then decided that just shutting down the system was the best course of action. And they did try to turn all the systems off and on again mid-flight. That didn't work. So while they were able to still fly the planes, they couldn't navigate. Thankfully, their refueling aircraft was nearby, and they were able to follow it, limping home back to Hawaii. But there is here in Britton Hill, as the landscape slopes up to the border, the edge with Alabama, there are at least 4 other local maxima, one of which is the global maximum. And that's the problem. No matter how good your code is at running and working in the range of values where you think it will normally have to function, you never know if there's an extreme edge case somewhere else which is going to cause a problem. Wow, so what a view from the top of the mountain, and I hope we've all learned something about tales of computing going wrong. I've actually known about the whole Sugarloaf Mountain versus Britton Hill for a long time. A viewer emailed me years ago and mentioned it, and I've always wanted to come here.
Australian guy in Florida talking about Britton Hill.
To tell an interesting story
Multicultural.
about computing.
We're here for that.
I was going to be nearby. I thought, you know what? I will stop by and make just this one and only one specific video. Speaking of which, this video is sponsored by Established Titles. There is a link here.
Yeah, that didn't age well. That part didn't age well. Also, although I do enjoy the fact that he says that I'm gonna make this one and only video in a series about edge cases, which is great. Yeah, that didn't last well. November 25th. Have you done one of the videos on it about established titles? I feel like I don't need to, because one, I mean, it was a... Everybody who's talked about it has already talked about it to death. And it's very, it seems very simple, you know? I couldn't really do anything about it. All right. All right, are you guys ready to watch videos about cubes? It's cube time. You guys like cubes? I like cubes. All right, this next video is from Billiam.
How's it going, my
and
computers suck at
and he does cubes. Hold on, I'm opening up a bunch of other tabs for more videos.
Right here,
So I unfortunately there's a couple spoilers for the next videos, but you know, it's okay. Don't worry. All right. Oh yeah, and we also got a video from the United States Chemical Safety Board, which is, these videos are great. We're watching those later. Okay. I think that I got enough of them. All right. This one's from Billiam. It was about cubes. Oh, the server.
Hi pals, it's me, Billiam. I recently moved, and while reorganizing all of my stuff, I keep coming across things that I haven't thought about in a very long time. From Bionicles to Poochie to several videos I haven't gotten around to yet. You also always seem to lose something in a move. There's several video props that I just cannot find. But then there's the wonderful occasion of finding something you completely forgot about. It's always a
core memory unlocked.
Some long forgotten memories. Like, I forgot that I ordered this thing 2 weeks ago. I have absolutely no idea what it is. I just bought it because it looked neat. So let's find out what Cube World was. The virtual pet was a defining trend of the era between like 1996 and 2002. From calculator to Game & Watch to Tiger Electronics to Tamagotchi, virtual pets were sort of the final form of the LCD game. These devices really only could feature the most basic of gameplay action, so Tamagotchi got around that with a sense of progress. I mean, nothing you really do with an original Tamagotchi is fun, per se, but watching it change and morph into something new is exciting, and when it turns into something cute, oddly satisfying. At least that's what I can assume it's like to raise a Tamagotchi till it becomes something cute. All of mine seem to die. Well, Tamagotchi.
I love that sound effect
and the music. And even rip-offs. There were tons of interesting virtual pets, though most of them were made by.
Oh my God, they had a Power Rangers one?
By Bandai. But then there's cool offshoots like Scanners, a toy I already did a video on. It basically took monster collecting and combined it with a V-Pet. Scanners was made by Radica Games, who sort of make a B-tier version of those Tiger Electronics games, which is already sort of like a D-tier Game Boy. As soon as Tamagotchi came out, Radica was like, we have to have a V-Pet. Then they made about 700 versions of Electronic Solitaire, and by the time they came back to the idea, the V-Pet craze was already dead for 6 years, but Radica Games was able to breathe new life into it with Cube World.
Cube World, where stick people stick together.
Cube World is a V-Pet
technically D-tier Game & Watch. It's very unfortunate.
Cubes, which all feature a little stick figure dude. Why, hello to you too. With interconnectable magnets on each side of the cube, Cube World figures could link up and hang out with each other. Then you keep going and going and going. It's really quite cool. I wanted to thank today's sponsor, Honey. Online shopping is supposed to be easy, and Honey is...
Honey makes it harder.
According to designer Tony Ellis, the goal with Cube World was to
Okay,
make
here
a
we go.
digital world that just got bigger and bigger, with characters living their own crazy lives in their own cube world.
I was never allowed a
Other
cube, but I had the
VPETs
Power
would
Rangers on
connect to
these.
play mini
That
games
seems like
together or to
a interesting difference.
Cube World wanted to create a living, beeping world for all of these little sticks to live in. That's pretty cool. Wave 1 was
Got really
released
into
in
it.
2005
Yeah.
with 4 different interconnectable cubes. I'm more of an orb guy, but I guess this is
Cubes.
pretty cool. In the 2-pack, you got the yellow and red Cube World character Dodger and Whip. Each cube comes with a stick figure who has their own thing. Dodger has a ball and Whip has some sort of string. A lot of Cube World is just observing what the stick figures do. Each character apparently has over 100 stick animations, which is pretty neat, but I've seen at least 10 of them do the fart animation, so I have no idea if it's all unique for each cube. Each stickman also has its own game. Dodger bounces the ball with his head and Whip jumps rope. For Dodger's game, you have to press the middle button at the right time, and for Whip's game, you have to press the middle button at the right time. There's also a gyroscope inside the cube, so if you tip it over, the character will fall, and if you do it too much, they'll vomit.
He threw up.
It's fucked up. Kind of, honestly.
I'm a menace.
Fucked up a little bit.
Is he angry at me? He's angry at me.
But what makes
You get to be a horrible person,
is its
like you're
connectivity.
making fun of Sims.
When connected, your cubes will have the possibility of interacting with each other. Depending on their own unique quirk, they'll all have animations unique to each interaction. Like Dodger here will throw his ball and Whip will sling it back. Alongside Dodger and Whip,
that looks
came
painful.
2 Cube World guys released as singles. Slim, who has a pull-up bar, and Scoop, who has the dog. You can pet the dog. Slim does pull-ups to avoid scary, evil alien mutant blobs, and Scoop plays keep away from his
You know, with
dog.
modern tech and bigger screen device, right? I'd love to see people like
Cleaning
this.
up dog poop.
Little computer
Imagine
people.
Cube
I know,
World
right?
Cubes were sold as either a 2-pack retailing for $30 or a single pack. I think the
I
singles
want little
sold for
computer
about
people that I can
$15,
interact
but
with.
I can't find a definite answer on that. But for a collectible that encourages you to buy multiple, it's hard to deny that Cube World is a little expansive.
Buy the toys, buy the toys, buy the toys, buy the toys.
Fun, so the more you have, the more fun it is. In total, each cube network could support up to 16 different cubes all interacting with each other. This is my cube world.
That's honestly not that bad. Like,
universe.
an interaction of
Series 2
16.
featured 4 more characters.
That's a
Handy,
lot.
Mike, Dusty, and Hans, but I only have Dusty. He cleans. Series 3 moved away from that free-loving stick folk and more into a rigid cube world with careers. You had Chief, a police officer who kicks through doors, Sparky, a firefighter who fights fire, Hans, a mailman who is going to have to jump, and Toner, a cubicle office worker. Meta. Toner has some big coffee energy though, so I have to.
Did Toner just photocopy
Series
his own
3
ass?
Also improved the battery container. That's not
The
really
hell?
interesting, but when you have to put batteries in this entire
Just getting close to Sonic
world of
Clover's
cubes,
intonation.
it does make a
Yeah.
difference. I wonder if this is how the simulation operates. Are we all just a bunch of stickmen living in a cube for some 4th dimensional billion to look at? That was a cutaway sketch, but we can't perceive 4th dimensionality, so you couldn't
All these
see it.
squares make a circle. No.
See it either. Series 3 also wore the pride of its era proudly because look at these special edition clear plastic cubes.
Yeah.
Cubular. Connecting the cubes and watching how they interact is like most of the fun of Cube World. If you connect all 4 of a series, you actually get a new piece of animation. Series 4 had a sports theme with Slugger, Kick, Slam, and Grinder.
He did just hit someone in the nuts. Oh
Okay,
god.
so weird rant time. It's kind of odd that they marketed the
They're so
actions that the
violent.
stick figures do as animations. I mean, that's technically what it is.
Over 100 stick animations trademark per cube. Trademark. How do you trademark the word animations in cube?
But that's something you put on a production planning sheet, not on the packaging. Like, imagine if God of War came out and it had a sticker on the front that said, watch Kratos do 42,384 unique animations.
Game of the year.
Animation in a game communicates an action. It's not supposed to be the goal. Referring to it as animation just makes it seem like a string of randomly activated animations. I'm not one to say this much, but it ruins the immersion. Developing
My
a
immersion!
relationship to a VPET is what makes the experience fun and unique. It's what makes this simple kind of dull gameplay worth it. You're taking care of something, so it makes the tediousness have a goal.
They're just hanging out. Oh my god, they're hanging out too.
Oh, they're all vibing. Look at that.
What the f?
Sure, there's over 100 animations to see, but I'm not gonna sit here and watch the device to hopefully see them do something else. It is animated well,
When
but
Alma
at the end
shows
of
her
the day,
hands
it's still
on
a stick
stream
figure.
during
Like, it's
winter.
not
Excuse
super
you.
visually interesting. So remember those plug-and-play TV games? Well, Radica actually had a B-tier version of
They
those
really
as
did just
well.
like
Plug-and-play TV games.
some of their
actually
animations
a
is like
brand name,
they just
while
do
Radica had
violence,
their
man.
brand, Arcade Legends. Anyways, Mattel probably saw Radica's port of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Arcade Legends because they were so impressed that they decided just to buy Radica. They bought them. They bought them up. Under Mattel, Radica decided to change things up. Just when you thought you couldn't stand to see
Choose
another
violence.
cube,
Yeah.
bam, a cuboid, which of course is what you call any such polyhedron with rectangular shaped faces. For all of you who said you wouldn't use geometry in life, I just proved you wrong.
This actually
While the
be a
smaller
fun
cubes
setup for a
provide
horror movie.
characters, the larger ones also
Like the Aggressor
provide
from
a
the Cube.
location.
I'm pretty sure there is a horror
Actually
movie
by the
called
larger
Cube, isn't
screen.
it?
The yellow
I'm pretty
one at the
sure there
cab
is.
called Block Bash. Block Bash is city themed with a city themed game. You can move left and right and even jump. You have to catch trash while jumping over rats. So just like Mario. By jumping over the
Great.
rat, you unlock unique animations complete with a cutscene and everything. The other is Global Getaway, the blue cuboid with a helicopter. It takes place on an island. The game here is Jungle Jump, where you move left and right and the monkey will throw a coconut at you, so you have to jump over it, so it's just like Mario Sunshine. So
If
it's
I
a
want to
bit of a
catch it, I go to
step
work
up
where I
from
get
the
paid for
smaller
it.
ones. I
Yeah.
mean, there's not just one button, there's 3 buttons. I've also seen this third green Cube World Places toy around. I don't think it was ever released, but it looks like it may be a park
band.
with a concert being the game.
Oh,
Cube
that's
World also had an exclusive Japanese release that was handled by Bandai. So it's funny how these things come full circle, or full square. Cube.
Bandai knows what they're
Final
doing.
Cube World release was Cube World Mods. Cube World Mods featured these weird blocks that attach to the cubes, 4 and all. Hip hop, splash, sci-fi, and dart. What do
Lights.
the mods do? Why, they unlock more animations. Thrilling. They're really here just to look cool. You can't really accessorize a stick figure with much, but you can absolutely accessorize
This is
a
all just
cube
really kind of
with a
cool looking,
taller
though.
Cube.
It does look
Cuboid.
fun.
Unfortunately, I didn't get any of these. I kind of went over budget with this video. I really didn't need to have separate versions of these complete in box. That was a waste of money. Honestly, Cube World's mods does seem like a natural progression to the Cube World series, but I don't really think many people were asking for more Cube World. It takes away a lot of the charm of Cube World.
I remember wanting these when I went to the toy
It's
store.
fine how it
I do
is,
remember
but
these.
it's only something you want to interact with for a short period of time. When you're bored of something, you move on. You don't want to indulge with more of it. And all Cube World Series 5 did was give us more cubes, but this time there's a big shoebox next to it.
Yeah, they
Cube
could do
World is a
this. They probably
remarkably
could do this
charming
again.
Entry into the V-Pet genre. Watching the stick figures interact with each other is really cute, and it does create this feeling of a strange little
My
world.
favorite part is
I enjoyed
always.
what I played of it, but they're not
My favorite part is always like those. Is like it has like a physical connector with magnets, so they just kind of onto each other. Because like I bet if they did this again, they would do like wireless capability, and that would kind of suck because the form factor entices you to put them into shapes and funny bits.
novelty of Cube World wears off pretty quickly. I don't really want more from it. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I played with them and I did have fun, but now it's time for them to go back into the box, only to be forgotten until next time I move. Then I'll move one more time, then eBay. So anyways, thank you for watching this video of mine. I'm so happy to be settled.
Let me find the most important video. Hold on. So did we learn what's up with that kid? He's 15 years old and was like a troll. And I think that's it. And I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of Yeah, kid was fucking young. It was weird. Is this the right video? This is not the right video. I keep finding it on Twitter. Is it this one? No. I keep finding it the one on Twitter, and I can never find it again. Do you have it? I need it. I keep losing it. I need to find it again. Like, it does the funny dance and stuff, right? Oh, you found it. Thank you. Oh, wait, no, not this one. But still counts. What is this? Oh, so it was the reference to Kamen Rider. See, I know better now because I've seen Kamen Rider Double. So.
Final color blaster.
Cube. Oh, I remember that one. Laser. Yeah, that is just Kamen Rider. Okay, what is... I need to hear this for real.
Cyclone Maximum Drive. Heat Maximum Drive. Luna Maximum Drive.
Luna.
Joker Maximum Drive.
See, the one that's always my favorite is Joker because of just how they say it. Joker! Maximum Drive! It's so good. Huh. I need to find this stupid meme because it's gonna annoy me. Show us the ultimate... hold on. Joker. Okay, there we go. Oh, we're not gonna find this. We're not gonna find this in time. As much as I want to, I don't think we have time. Okay. Let's see here. What is next? Oh. Phone, no. I will eventually find this stupid cube video because it's like my favorite thing and I can never find it. All right. Computers are terrible at division. Are you guys ready to understand this one? Because I feel like I know. Let's go.
Computers suck at division. I realized this when I was coding some ARM assembly, trying to solve what I thought was a relatively simple problem. The prompt was to write a function, in assembly of course, that would convert a Fahrenheit temperature into Celsius. The equation for this is quite simple. The degrees in Fahrenheit, minus 32, times 5 divided by 9, yields the degrees in Celsius. This seemed simple enough, but it quickly turned into something that was much more complicated. As I was writing the code, setting up the stack and making room for local variables was an easy and familiar task. Next, I did the first part of the equation, subtract 32. Great success. I felt like I was on my way to a quick, low-level victory, but here I encountered my first problem, the fraction. Because 5/9 is not a whole regular number, I would have to use the
Fractions.
floating point unit, or FPU, to do floating point math to get my answer. The problem was that not all ARM processors have an FPU, and without an FPU, I would have to rely
Alright,
on
here we go, good luck.
floating point approximation libraries to just do the math for me, and that felt like cheating. Surely there is an easier way. Instead of treating 5/9 like a fraction, I decided to treat it like two separate operations. First, multiply by 5 and then divide by 9. Finally, the light at the end of the tunnel was beginning to show. And this is where the story takes a slight turn. I quickly learned that ARM cores didn't have a division instruction until 2004, and that most of the smaller Cortex-M series processors still don't support signed or unsigned division. How is this possible? Did the algorithms executed by those chips just never include division? After banging my head against a wall for a few hours, I decided to write the function in Godbolt and see what the assembler produced for the ARM solution. What stuck out to me was this magic number here. Instead of doing a division operation, my input was being multiplied by this large constant. Instead of just accepting that compilers and computers are black magic, deep mythical undertakings, I dove deeper. It turns out that the number here is being
They are,
used to
though.
what is referred to as fixed point multiplication. Wait, multiplication? I thought we were doing division. Hold your horses, we'll get there. The algorithm we're being asked to do was to multiply by 5 and then divide by 9. Because we can't divide by 9 because there are no divide instructions, what we could do instead is multiply by 1/9. The issue with 1/9 is that it is not a whole number, and again, we can't use floats. This is where fixed point representation comes into play. We can represent 1/9 as a binary fixed point number, like this. 1/9 is an infinitely repeating binary pattern, but we can approximate the value to a certain point by truncating the pattern at this point here. Because we can't store the decimal point in binary like we can with floats, we'll just make the decimal point implied by scaling the number. We scale the number by shifting the decimal point in binary to the right by multiplying it by a very high power of 2. The exact power of 2 that you use depends on the accuracy that you want from the number and the number of bits that you have to work with. So, boiling that all down, this number here is the result of 2 to the power of 33 divided by 9, and then we add 1 to approximate for the data that we lose by truncating the repeating pattern. Armed with this power, I felt like I was finally ready to solve the problem. Because I didn't want to cheat and just use the number they gave me, I decided to use my own magical constant. Using the same mathematical principle, I used this number here, which is just 2 to the power of 32 divided by 9 plus 1. In theory, it would provide the same results with just a bit less accuracy at higher input values, but working with degrees, I wasn't too worried about that. Finally, I could write my code. First, I subtracted 32 from my input number. Next, I multiplied it by 5. And finally, to approximate the division by 9, I would do a 64-bit multiplication where the result of the operation goes into 2 separate registers. Here, the high 32 bits are in R0 and the low 32 bits are in R4. Because the high 32 bits are in R0, we don't have to do any bit shifting, and R0 by default contains our answer. Using this harness, I'm able to check to see if my function converts 86 degrees Fahrenheit to the correct answer of 30 in Celsius. We try it out, and great success. After I finished the problem, I wanted to figure out why ARM chips didn't have divide instructions. It felt kinda odd to me. After some digging, the answer seemed pretty straightforward. Division is such a slow algorithm that chip designers typically create a separate set of circuits in the chip to accelerate the operation. These circuits take up a ton of silicon die space and are extremely expensive to make. Because of this, ARM decided they just weren't needed. And for certain variants of the Cortex M0, they still don't. Hey guys, thanks for watching
wait, the Cortex M0?
Video. If you liked it as well, do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and then go
I didn't know
watch the
that.
video about how I hacked my own server.
Yeah, look, generally everything is addition. Yeah, multiplication, yeah. Yeah, it's just like, what is the adage? Is like, if you can add numbers, you can subtract numbers. And if you can, like, if you can subtract numbers, you can add numbers. And if you can add numbers, you can multiply numbers. And if you can multiply numbers, you can basically do fucking anything. Which is, yeah, that's basically it. Okay. That was a very short video. I wasn't expecting it to be so short, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. All right. We got this next one from our favorite maybe arsonist, Styropyro. This video was posted 4 days ago, so in fact he is still alive and is actually not dead and made content. I always get worried because, like, every single time he goes on, like, a hiatus to do something, I always just kind of assume he's dead from doing something wacky. I'm glad he's alive. So, are you guys ready to see the brightest laser pointer in the world? Hey, this is a bit obvious, but don't do this at home. I don't even think people have the capability of doing this at home. Yeah. Alright, let's go.
Right here I have a green laser pointer that I bought online. There's a good chance you've seen one like this before, and in fact a lot of you probably own one of these.
Oh boy, laser pointer.
These things. I mean, yeah, they're cheap, and they can be pretty educational, but they do have some big problems.
For one, they're often substantially stronger than advertised, and yes, this is a bad thing.
I realize how ironic this sounds coming from me, but I mean, these things are sold as toys. So most people buying them have no idea how dangerous they can be to the eyes.
Another big issue is that they can leak a dangerous amount of invisible infrared light, and this can even happen from pointers with a dim green spot.
Oh shit.
This stems from the fact that they're driven by a powerful infrared laser diode.
Oh no, IR.
Laser crystal. And then the
IR
output is
light's
fed through a
scary.
frequency doubling crystal to make green light. Super interesting physics, really, just done here in a sloppy way that makes them dangerous.
I'm not going to spend this whole video talking about how these can burn your eyes out, since I've already covered the topic in a few videos already, but these can burn your eyes out.
Blinding risk aside, these laser pointers can be a great educational tool. Assuming you get one that's actually under the 5 milliwatt power level they're supposed to be.
Pretty.
They're great for demonstrating a bunch of cool phenomena like refraction, diffraction, fluorescence, animal behaviors, and plenty more.
Animal
These
behaviors?
Florence devices have stimulated scientific curiosity in millions of people around the world.
Oh, look at the
I
cat
mean,
go.
seriously, my first green laser pointer changed my life.
Ooh.
As a testament to these dangerous little devices that have sparked
Kitty.
curiosity in so many, I want to make a ridiculously huge version of one of these. I mean, it may not be the smartest thing I've ever done, but it should be really, really cool. So how do I go about scaling this up? Well, one way would be to simply
can
scale
also
up
do that
every
with
single component inside.
Like,
but that's probably not the best approach.
You can give laser pointers to
Turns
jumping
out,
spiders
the
and they'll have
technology in
fun.
These laser pointers is actually pretty old as far as lasers go. Handheld green lasers driven by a powerful infrared laser have been around for 30 years, and the idea of diode pumping goes back to the early 60s. More recently, laser diodes that directly emit green light have become available. I built my first handheld laser based on one of these 9 years ago, and in the past few years they've become available in commercial laser pointers.
I like the idea of a direct diode version for a lot of reasons, but the biggest is that I recently acquired this terrifying piece of technology.
This right here is a high-powered green laser
Oh
diode.
god.
Thanks to Big E Cheese and some sketchy operation deep in the heart of China, I was able to get my hands on this. Check out those scratched off part numbers. Nothing suspicious there, right?
I love these, like, I got
Even
this
more
from off
hilarious is that
the
manufacturer
Chinese
design
black
doesn't
market.
even exist, so you know it's got to be good.
I've been waiting for years to get my hands on one of these things.
In fact, my insane 100-watt handheld laser
here
build
we
was based
go.
on similar cursed laser tech.
Here we
I
go.
figured a green version of this was inevitable given enough time, and close to 3 years later, it's finally here. Obviously, this thing is perfect for the mega-scale
It's
laser.
so
Since
chunky.
laser diodes are ridiculously easy to kill, I guess I should probably run this thing on a bench supply to make sure it actually works before I try building anything with it. Alright, here goes nothing.
Oh,
Wow, that is a lot of light.
fear.
Only giving it a fraction of its rated power there, too.
Fear.
It's insane. This is going to make the brightest portable laser I've built yet, and that's saying something. If you look closely there, you can see all the individual beamlets that make up the overall beam.
Guys,
That
help, I'm
looks really
scared.
cool. Ow! Well, it looks like my beam
I'm
stop is
so
about to catch on fire, so I better kill it.
Okay, so the array runs fine on a bench supply, but how am I going to power it in the pointer? I mean, it takes like 100 volts, and I'd much rather not use a big string of batteries to get that kind of voltage. I've always said that most problems in life can be solved with very powerful lasers. But I don't have the laser working yet. This means I have to go with the next best option, and that's microwaves.
I've built a ton of fun stuff using microwaves over the years, like Tesla
He's doing
coils,
it again.
and even EMI testing devices. These were all based on classical microwave ovens, which have barely changed at all since they were invented over 70 years ago.
He's doing it again.
Anything in these I can use to power my laser array, at least for something portable.
He's taking
But it turns
apart.
out there is a
Oh,
more modern
no.
microwave option that can.
This right here is an inverter microwave oven. Doesn't really look any different than a normal microwave, but it is a lot lighter. The reason being is that
Thank
the
you for the
heaviest part inside,
demonstration.
the transformer, has been swapped from a clunky iron one like this to a much smaller ferrite transformer.
Why did you do
I
that?
built this one up to show the fancy circuitry inside. But first, I must say it. The inside of any microwave oven is extremely dangerous. Out of all the parts and materials that get used by science hobbyists, none of them have the kill count of the microwave oven transformer. Seriously. One mistake with one of these, and you're dead before you hit the floor.
I need art
Anyway,
of me
here's
trying
that
to
cute
take
little
apart a
flyback
microwave.
transformer inside of this inverter oven. They're only a fraction
I need
of the
art of
size
me
a
doing
typical
incredibly
microwave oven
dangerous
transformer
things for
like
fun.
this, yet they still deliver the same power, which is actually pretty terrifying. Now the reason they can do that is because they're switching at a
Tiny.
frequency that's about 500 times faster. Unlike normal microwaves, these inverters are switched with a solid-state circuit, specifically in a flyback converter configuration.
Along with making them lighter, this makes them more efficient and also has the benefit of giving true power control when cooking food. This flyback transformer will easily be able to power the laser array, but it is going to need some modifications, as well as a new driver circuit
Bruh.
to run it.
I get worried for him sometimes. I'm just like, bro. Wait, hold on. Was the microwave fine with the lighter and then it just exploded? Hold up. Because I see like this horrified warping on the left side of the window. I'm like, did the lighter do that?
Specifically in a flyback converter configuration.
Along with making them lighter, this makes them more efficient and also has
It
the
just-
benefit of giving true power control when
Oh,
cooking
it did.
food.
Oh,
Transformer will easily
that
be
is
able to
covered
power
in
the laser array,
butane.
but it is going to need some modifications, as well as a new driver circuit to run it.
Oh,
It's funny.
yeah, also him
if
just
you try to
taking that
run
just
one of these open circuit and
scares me.
flyback
Oh,
modes, the
oh,
voltage
no.
gets too high and causes the windings to arc over, which
Oh.
destroys it pretty much instantly. Now, in theory, it probably wouldn't be that hard to get one of these inverter ovens to play music with the microwave beam itself, but maybe I'll save that for a different video.
That
Alright,
sure is
so what's this
plasma.
abomination? Well, I've made a prototype drive circuit using a microwave flyback as a boost inductor, along with a MOSFET and 555 timer. And because this thing is so unbelievably cursed, I'm testing it with some cheap LEDs before, hooking up to my very fragile and expensive laser array. And it works! So that means it's time for the real magic.
The button's cool though. I don't. Oh god, not another one. Oh wait, no, I think that's the same footage. Oh god. Oh, uh-oh. More fire that time? Oh, he did it twice for fun? Okay, that's great. That's so good to know. Aw, that's cute. What? What? Wait, what? He's just like, sounds like a kid casually explaining Minecraft speedrunning techniques, except like, which shit can kill you. Yeah, that is basically Styropyro's entire channel. At least that's going into ground. At least that's going into ground, dear God. Oh, that... Yeah, that's one way to solve the problem. Shard retina %, let's go. High 555 timer, you're my favorite integrated circuit. Did you just fucking touch that? He's just doing so many things of don't fucking even... Hey! Lone diode, my favorite. What? I do appreciate that he did, in fact, make a giant laser pointer. Like proper. Like, even with the
And
aesthetic.
here's the completed laser. It's not exactly the most elegant.
It honestly
thing I've
looks
ever
cool.
built, but it's definitely the brightest. Now, I'll be honest. There really aren't many valid uses for something like this because it's dangerous in nearly every single way possible.
Now, this is the
Blinding
lightsaber,
risk
kids.
is off the charts. The drive circuit can deliver a lethal amount of voltage and current. The unprotected lithium pack inside might explode if something shorts out, and the beam itself is a
What do you mean the
huge fire
lithium
hazard.
batteries and
Really,
protected?
the fact that it wasn't illegal to make is pretty much my only justification. Now, regarding the whole fire hazard thing, I actually consider this a benefit.
Why do you do
With
this
the
to yourself?
normal-sized green laser pointer, it can be hard to light a match, even with the overpowered ones. Now, can this laser light a match? Well, duh, but let's test it out anyway. Very cool.
Oh, that was faster.
I love how the smoke looks in the beam there.
Ooh.
Let's test it out on some other stuff, like this paper bag here. Yup, it lights it on fire super easily.
It lit on
How the
fire
dye in the bag colors the
instantly.
flame a bit green there. Let's try some thin plastic.
Oh,
Ha!
and it's gone.
It shoots through it pretty much instantly. What a great metaphor for what it would do to your retinas if you weren't wearing goggles when using it.
It made a square
Some
char in
newspaper that's been
it.
dipped in the lithium chloride solution. Lithium.
Oh my god.
This is always a fun one. Here I have a celluloid ping pong ball. Until recently, ping pong balls were made out of highly flammable nitrocellulose, but nowadays they're usually made from much less chemically exciting polymers. How unfortunate.
Oh, and it's gone.
Speaking of nitrocellulose, let's try that with a much higher nitrated form, like in this flash paper. Yup, gone pretty much instantly. How about some
Flash paper's
balloons?
fun. He's holding it like a can, like a shotgun.
How about some flammable liquids? Well,
Huh?
the laser can actually light them directly. Since it's typically the vapors from a flammable liquid that burn, this means the light passes straight through without heating it up. Short of electric field ionization with like a 1,000,000-watt laser, the only way to light this on fire is indirectly, like with these matches here.
Eh.
I
Oh.
gotta admit, though, the effect is still pretty
Ooh,
neat.
Pretty.
Right here I have a Crookes radiometer. Inside there's a set of vanes that have one dark side and one reflective side, and they sit on a spindle that's free to rotate. When exposed to a light source, the vanes on the radiometer spin due to differential heating of the gas across each side of the vanes. So what happens when I blast it with this huge laser? No surprise there.
Oh, God.
The vanes spin extremely quickly.
It's spinning like a
Probably not
turbine.
Great for the radiometer blasted with so
Look
much
how
light
fast
there,
it's going.
but it is pretty awesome. I know I said this thing doesn't have many legit uses, but here's one. I have some reactive chemicals mixed on that microwave that I'm scared to get close to, so I'm gonna blast them with the laser.
I appreciate his safety procedure by putting it on a microwave. I guess.
Not exactly OSHA.
This is mildly
but it does
safe.
get the job done.
This is safer?
I can use the laser in
I
place
don't know.
of scissors too. The laser slices this electrical tape
Bzzzt.
with little effort at all.
Oh.
How convenient. If you're willing to call this thing a laser pointer, then
Terrifying.
it's by far the brightest one ever made, hands down. It's 6,000 times stronger than a normal laser pointer. And in fact, it's actually 60 times past the limit of the highest laser danger rating of all, which is Class 4. That being said, this is not the most powerful portable laser I've built. At 30 watts of output power,
I love
it's
seeing
actually
it
less
just
than
kind
a third
of.
of the output power of my 100-watt blue laser build. Even so, the green laser is substantially
I just love it
brighter.
seeing burn
It's
through a
4 times
hole and you
brighter
see
going
the
off
beam
low
of
lumen
light come out
output.
on the other
This is
side.
due to the fact that the eye is much more sensitive to green than blue. Interestingly, both of these lasers use roughly the same amount of input power, which means the green laser is quite a bit less efficient. In fact, green laser diodes and LEDs in general are not very efficient.
I love it.
And
It
this
just
is currently
goes
an
through, and I
unsolved
love
problem
that.
in engineering
Hmm.
called the green gap. Solving this problem will lead to more efficient lighting with better color rendering than current LED options. Anyway, I still haven't tested all of this laser's burning capabilities. By sticking a lens on front, I can dramatically increase the power density at close range. Check out what it can do to a block of
It's
wood
more.
now.
It's getting more
It's
condensed.
hard to
no.
see it because the beam is so bright, but the wood is shooting out a jet of fire where the beam hits it. Gotta love some good old-fashioned pyrolysis.
Fire.
This highly
love fire.
concentrated beam makes for some nice laser engraving. Since the laser pointer is so huge, it's easier to move the piece of wood in the beam than it is to move the laser pointer itself, which is kinda awkward. Now that being said, I've done enough writing with huge lasers at this point that the outcome is more legible than my normal handwriting.
Yeet.
Yeet. Think it can melt a piece of soldering wire? Well, that was easy.
Oh, man.
Let's try that again with much thicker soldering wire meant for plumbing.
So this thing can go to like
Metal there
200
reflects
degrees
most of the light that
Celsius.
hits it. So this process isn't very efficient, and that beam that's being scattered around is downright terrifying. The burning flux core looks pretty neat though, so I guess it's worth it. Oh, there it goes. Nice.
Clean.
Let's try burning
Scaring.
a CD. Not gonna lie,
Good meme.
I miss the days of receiving these free AOL frisbees in the mail. I don't miss the days of dial-up though. Oh cool, the CD is literally on fire.
Oh my god.
Let's try chopping the base off this cup.
How focused this
Honestly,
beam is so
this would have been
like
faster
terrifies
without the
me.
lens.
I think it's personally
It's nice
just
to see that
fun.
this laser pointer doubles as a laser cutter as well though. A candle seems like an easy task, so let's try that out. Yep, no problems there.
Yay.
The melting wax makes some really cool patterns when the beam hits it. In fact, let's try shooting through the entire candle.
Oh. There it
Piece of
is.
Cake. Here I have an old camera.
Sensual,
Yeah,
very,
yeah, a
very
starving kid could
sensual.
eat the camera, I get it. But this thing barely works as is. And I'm curious what it would look like by blasting the laser straight into it.
Technological destruction.
Well, I
oh
can
no.
definitely hear popping noises, so that's gotta mean something interesting is happening. Here's what it looks like from the camera's view. The first blast didn't do that much to it, so I gave it a good long blast for good measure. It's funny because I
Ooh.
blinked several times while editing this footage.
Funny
The idea of
shapes.
getting hit with a laser like this without goggles is so horrifying to me. Now, honestly, the camera held up pretty well to
So-
such a powerful
so that's
laser
what it
beam
looks like,
blasting
I
directly
guess.
into the lens. Especially
Yeah,
considering
imagine
that
that
the
happening
camera
to your
destroyed by
vision.
indirectly viewing the beam of a laser of lower average power. That laser was Q-switched though, so the peak power must play a much bigger role here. Now, even after several seconds of direct exposure into this
It's
camera,
blurry.
I can still see out of it, although the image is quite distorted. Interesting. Let's go ahead and cook that LCD screen for good measure.
It just burns it instantly.
Yeah, that actually gave a more impressive result than shooting it into the lens. Oh, it looks like the camera doesn't want to close the lens anymore.
Oh.
Rip in peace, camera.
Earlier I
Aw.
talked about the low efficiency of green laser diodes. I want to point out that the efficiency of the drive circuit in this thing is actually my best yet at 94% power conversion. Now that being said, it's probably the worst laser diode
Rip
driver
camera.
ever made that actually works as intended. I'm a fan of using simple analog circuits, and that's why I wanted to base my circuit on the 555 timer. And I also wanted to use a flyback topology because that's what the original microwave oven used. Well, it turns out these two requirements are not very compatible at higher powers.
I could only get it to about half the output power I needed before my 1200 volt FET would avalanche over. I could have just ditched the 555 and used a fancy flyback controller at that point, but where's the fun in that? I ended up de-gapping the microwave transformer core and adding additional windings to use it as a big inductor and a boost converter. Repurposing
You just
the
decided to
555
add more,
circuit
I
for this
guess.
was straightforward, and I easily achieved the 115 volts at roughly 2 amps I needed.
Professional
When
electrician, I
stuck
guess.
a current limiter in there to protect the laser array, everything fell apart. I'm using a 40 volt rated chip
it
for
started
this
screaming at
115
him.
volt circuit. And although that may
It
sound
started
dumb,
screaming at
the actual drop across it in operation is only a few volts, hence a method I've gotten away with numerous times in the past. However, I kept killing it on startup. I realized it's because there's a short window where the filter caps are charging, where the voltage across it actually exceeds the limit there. So I ended up just bypassing it for this brief moment there with this TVS diode, which, for the record, is an extremely cursed workaround, because it just dumps this startup pulse into this extremely sensitive laser diode array. Now, the existence of this filter capture
Drinking water?
actually
Thank
does
you, Lunar.
prevent the
Yes.
laser diodes from eating that pulse. In reality, by the time these things are at threshold, the current limiter is actually already acting in regulation there. Now, in hindsight, the soft start on this power MOSFET switch probably would have prevented this from being an issue in the final build, but whatever. The TVS diode only solved one of the problems, though. For whatever reason, the existence of the current limiter caused the circuit to start screaming and draw huge amounts of current, as the 555 oscillator would drop into the audio
sounds like
range. I racked my brain for
It sounds like a
longer than I
robot
could
being
admit trying to figure
tortured.
this one out. But what ended up fixing it
I feel
was
bad
moving
for
this
the
capacitor
circuit
about
for
a
some
centimeter
reason.
closer to the
The
555
it's the
chip.
screaming of the
Simply moving this capacitor a centimeter.
it's the screaming of the electronic ghosts that are in the circuits.
Was able to kill whatever weird feedback loop was being created. Classic power electronics design moment right there.
It just sounds like
in
a
such a great field, but
tortured
man, it's
animal.
so stupid. It's funny, because if you read the data sheets on some switching controllers for circuits like this, they'll tell you to not even attempt to build a circuit on protoboard due to the high frequencies and high parasitics involved. However,
I hate the idea of
did
stuff.
it,
I
and
mean,
it
me
worked,
too.
So fight me.
Yeah.
Well, that's about
Fight
all I
me.
have for you today. So until the next time, stay safe and happy lasing.
Don't die, anybody.
This
It's
video.
important. Oh, this now blued video was a chaos. I love it. Okay, last video. I'm trying to figure out what. Oh yeah, actually, let's do this one. Let's do this last video. This one is also just as dangerous and also something you shouldn't do. Let's overclock the world's brightest flashlight. Bright items today. Bright items on for the last bit of Finding Out Friday.
On today's episode, we're going to test the world's brightest flashlight
Bright
versus
items.
its crazy high lumen claims, as well as the world's brightest EDC flashlight. Then drop test that one, since it seems like something no one would normally be willing to find out, and try to juice up the world's brightest flashlight with every trick we could think of, including modding some Milwaukee parts, you know, because science. We've been testing lumen claims from flashlights, including the hilariously bold claims yet low prices of some no-name brands on Amazon, which by our testing only hit around 1.5% to 2% of those targets here with our admittedly very backyard build of a light integration sphere, though with some real lab testing to calibrate that sphere. During those episodes, many of
This is
you
most
in the
people
comments
won't
posed
find
the
out.
question,
He didn't
what
count on
about
finding
a
out
light
Friday.
that likely
Yeah.
isn't BSing its sky-high lumen
We're
numbers
finding out
and
the most
is
cursed
priced
knowledge.
accordingly. Well, all right.
I'm
so
the
we
only
bought this
YouTuber that'll help you find cursed
MS-18
knowledge like
as
this.
Emily-
Other YouTubers will teach you stuff like will teach you lewd concepts and like fun video game tips or whatever or fun facts. We're finding out if you can like just make dangerous items on stream. Educational.
It sells the world's brightest flashlight. It's rated for 100,000 lumens and looks the part too compared to the past $40 and $50 examples we
God.
purchased. And it should too.
We
at
never
this
did see
price
the
point
400
of
mile per hour rocket knife.
$670
You're
to
right.
$700 normally.
We might do that
Not
next
the only
week.
flashlight for today. We also got this MS-03, which is one of Immolent's latest models and also carries some bold claims, reporting to be the world's brightest EDC light or everyday carry flashlight.
Everyday
Essentially
carry.
a light that you can fit in your pocket, but in this one's case, not the usual 1,000 or 1,500 lumens. Powerful examples of those carry. It's 13,000 lumens, which, if it does achieve that, would still make this the most powerful light we've tested to date.
Oh, that's a
assuming we tested
huge
for
bat.
Bigger brother, of course.
That battery's
It's run
kinda
off of
cool,
One
actually.
21,700 removable cell and takes a USB-C to recharge.
That's
And
kinda
well,
nice.
Yes, it's small, punishingly
Oh.
bright too.
Oh.
This one costs about $130, however, which would make it the most expensive EDC light we've
My
tested.
eyes.
Though it's not uncommon for lights in this class to cost around this.
As someone
or
who
more
wears
for much
glasses,
less
I
lumens, if that
I'm still
lumens is
staring at the light for some reason.
Speaking of punishingly bright, the MS-18, which having many modes,
It has a tiny screen on it.
on its digital readout. Basically, we're just after that full throttle here, and I hope you're not in a dark room because its loud pedal brings all the lumens, and loud it is compared to most flashlights, as it has its own finned heatsink and heat tubes with integrated fan. Here's how that
Oh,
air
man.
circulation within the fan works.
It has
with
its
the smoke
own.
Heat is a big problem with a light like this. It uses 18 of Cree's high-power XHP 70.2 chips, like the real Cree ones, not like the ones we bought on Amazon. And that soaks up a massive amount of current, which brings with it loads of heat.
It has its own cooling system.
With the quick maths, we'll
So
notice
good.
that 18 times the 4,300 lumens of an XHP 70.2 is only 77,000 lumens total, so not 100,000. But we measured the removable battery tube from this MS-18 at 16 volts, so basically 2 packs of 4 21,700 cells inside. Well, the Cree chip is rated at 12 volts, and after contacting Immolent, they said their lab found that 12 volts was a conservative level for this chip, and that they do use an increased voltage output to maintain a happy level performance, but also reliability, they say. Which is
They're all
sort of
block of
already
solid
overjuicing
nitrogen,
these things from
or
the
they're like
factory,
true.
but being outside
Yeah,
their natural
bring some
efficiency
liquid
zone,
nitrogen.
This requires even more current and makes even more gobs of heat to get to those lumen levels. Even with the fan at full blast from shooting the smoke show, this light gets to over 160 degrees after resting for a few minutes, and the battery went from full charged to 15.4 volts as well. Let's see if the batteries in these lights are able to keep up and deliver all those lumens like they say they do. Up first is the MSO3.
I love how the
rated for
camera
13,000
is.
lumens. It uses 3 XHP72.
It's trying so hard to
Since
fix
we're
the
over 5,000
brightness.
lumens, we have to use the meter in its top display mode, so you have to add a 0 here. We're going to show you this thing from its first second on. Out the gate, it's making 12,200 lumens. That drops to 12K, then holds in the 11,000s for another 10 to 12 seconds. It then holds quite steadily in the 10,000 lumen range, but just before the ANSI 30-second rating mark, it starts dropping fast, hitting 7,000, 7,300 at 30 seconds, soon after half of where it started. And this thing is already difficult to hold. It's quite hot anywhere forward of center on the light. So assuming a heavy dose of thermal throttling is going on here, we tried this again with a wet rag wrapped around it.
I love the concept of thermal throttling a flashlight.
See any improvement. The heat is of course mainly
It's so
happening
scary.
inside at the chip and board rather than the outside. For its size, it's definitely droppable, I find, and few people are reviewing such lights, understandably wanting to durability test them like this, or maybe brands don't want them to, not really sure. So no doubt 12,000 lumens in bursts is nothing to shrug at.
Great.
If you want the brightest EDC light, maybe brief tactical applications, this may be it. But frankly, it gets too hot to hold after less than a minute, in my opinion, and shown here after a couple drops at 6 feet, pops apart, which would put it in the 25% of lights, durability-wise, in this category that we've tested,
There it goes.
including Amazon lights. So not a top recommendation from us on this particular one. Back to the big boy, though. Let's see what she can do in the sphere if it
Big man.
melt it all down. Our light meter
Let's see the
goes
big
as
man.
high as really anyone we could find, but 100,000 would max this thing out real quick. So we bought this variable density light filter lens to install over the meter, then dial it in until it's an easy to follow 10% of that reading. Basically, you take a 10,000 lumen light and you adjust it until it reads 1,000. The Interstate Batteries light that you guys seem to love a lot in its episode makes 9,400.
Cool
Here it is
filter.
in the sphere now. Yep, 940, 930 lumens. So
Who
now
says it's
100,000
man? It could be
should
huge
register
Amazon
at
order like
about
the God
10,000.
Emperor. Yeah.
Let's see it. 108,000, 105, and the fans come on. 6 seconds in, and it drops below 100,000 now.
Large dude.
And we have to actually take it out of the sphere now just to not melt the foam in general. And at 30 seconds, it's reading 74,000, 70,000 lumens.
It's so bright the
About
sphere
max
would
that
melt.
those Cree chips were rated
Oh,
at
I love
once
that.
at that 30-second mark. So heat and voltage sag seem to play a part in running these chips close to the 12 volts that they were rated for after about 30 seconds. Which frankly just made us kind of want to hot rod this thing and keep it at or above that red line level of 16 volts as long as possible and see if we could get any more lumens out of this and keep those lumens much longer.
All right, let's see how dangerous
First,
we
the
can
comparison.
get.
Here's the MSO3 we measured
go.
at 12,000 lumens peak on a fixed exposure, quite dark camera setting.
Sure is a light. Sure works. Imagine being this guy's
Here's the
neighbor.
MS-18.
It's the bat signal. Yeah, just imagine being this guy's neighbor. And you just get the power of the sun just blind straight into your window when you're trying to sleep. It's doing its job, so. I mean, it's so bright.
Measuring the distance in particular was quite a difference between the
Holy
two lights
crap.
on this low camera setting. In person, both of them look brighter, but we tried to keep the camera at a setting where the MS-18 just didn't turn everything white. While it's high enough in voltage to do so, of course. The light here will display
lights up the
voltage
entire
live, and it was
tree.
dropping into the 13s for us. So the first thing we looked at is this tube of 21700s. which I'm sure is high discharge rated enough, but maybe we could just take it a step further. With some 8-gauge wires, the pack hit our DC battery load tester, where we dialed it in to 27-28 amps pulled from this fully charged thing, which brought the voltage of this pack down to 14.35, and that 400 watts or so would be much less still than what 18 of those Cree chips can really request. Our first stop, this channel being what it is, and we of course liking large power tools, is the HD 12.0 from Milwaukee. It has 21
Oh boy, here we go.
side, which is sort of the key for high discharge amps, and this one uses Samsung 40T cells. Only issue is that it's 18 volts, 20 volt max, and we found that XHP 70.2 chips do not really enjoy 18 volts. That and our current HD 12.0 is basically 1/3 dead. It dropped one bank of cells and won't fully charge anymore. So we employed the help of our friend and viewer Garrett, who has a spot welder for these batteries, to swap in new 21700 cells into this pack and bring it to a 16 volt configuration. And not just with some 40T Samsung cells, not with the even higher discharge rate 30T cells from Samsung either, but with the hottest of the hot rod 21700 cells on the market right now, the Molicel P42As. These can continuously discharge up to 45 amps a piece. 10 more than the Samsung 30Ts, which again beat the 40Ts that was inside the HD 12.0. And 4,200 milliamp hours in capacity each. So this is now a 16 volt HD 12.6 for 12.6 amp hours. So higher amps output and more capacity for less voltage sag. With this adapter on and 8-gauge wires connected directly to the battery leads, it cuts out all that small wire potential losses. The new pack at the same 400 watts drops to 15.4 or 15.3 volts under full load, which is a full
we're modding power tool batteries now.
After that load,
so we're in like
a full 16
pretty fun territory.
Looking pretty good. And we gotta have something to mount the battery to.
We're in
so
the
this
fun
rubber
modding
band rifle
territory.
is an obvious choice, I feel. Just needed a model number update. So power, yeah, check. But we still have the thermal throttling to contend with if we're delivering all this over voltage for extended periods. We're only making heat worse right now. And that tiny fan inside is no longer gonna cut the mustard. So time for some turbo fans. Okay, so these are turbo fans, not turbos, but these are also 12 volts, and we're overvolting these as well, which makes them sound very choochy.
I use these on my 3D printer, I
50
think.
millimeter one that we're going to use for the vent at the top. We have twin, larger 75 millimeter turbos for the intake side of the heat exchanger. And while we have that big HD 12.6 to feed off of power-wise, we figure
just shoving
why
fans
rob
onto
precious amps from it. We have the Immolent pack sitting idle, and I feel it's earned a seat at the show. So we're powering these fans and an 80 millimeter computer fan blowing on the backside of the light, which we found gets massively toasty as well, off of that stock 16 volt pack. You'll notice that it gobbles up a ton more smoke now, shoots it out the back at a higher rate, and the 80 millimeter fan below the light just sends a bunch of air across the whole housing.
Like there are lights that are so bright at some point, like you need
the Milwaukee HD 12.0
like water
converted
cooling.
to 16
So
volts with
this
the
is almost
cell
not out of the
cells
ordinary.
for a higher output.
It absolutely looks like a weapon
Larger turbo style
in a video
fans,
game, and I
one
love
small
it though.
turbo style fan going into the top, 2 out the sides, and then those fans run off of the stock battery from the MS-18. These are ground wires. You pull the trigger to start the fans. And that runs all 4 fans. There's also the fan inside the light that still works. And then it'll display your voltage on the top. So with the light on, you pull the trigger to run the fan.
Turbocharge the fan.
You can actually run the fans without the light on too to cool it down, as it does get quite
This is almost like some weird thing that I would do with the amount of electronics
Charge it, you
fuckery.
got these 2 leads. They just clip into where the light's plugged into now on the battery. And I got this adjustable DC voltage power supply. And you just bring it up to
It's just held together with tape and zip ties in a
It's a
dream.
bit cumbersome, not exactly something you take
It does look like a weapon I think I would find in like
it's off the light
Half-Life.
for sure.
So the big question, does it make more lumens now? Well, yeah, it does. It's a bit awkward
Looks
to
like
test
pick up
now,
you
and
can
this can't be
abandon
ideal
subway in
for
Fallout, yeah.
accurately measuring, but
It also looks like, I don't know,
peak is now 113.
the gravity
and
gun
its descent is much
to
slower. After
the
30
sequel.
seconds, we're now at around 97,000, which does still drop to 84, 86,000 or so. But here it is, the MS-47 in all of its glory.
It's pure dark, but it just blows out the camera. You can't see anything anymore. It's just white light.
It's bright, as you'd expect from the brightest flashlight in the world, made brighter and run cooler, but the voltage and the temperatures looked to improve quite a bit.
I feel bad for those people who live in the trees, like right below, in the house right below. Like, what the fuck are they looking at?
Before. For example, after this much use, it was around 14.8 volts rather than 13.3 we were seeing before, and 145 degrees Fahrenheit rather than 170.
The tree must be enjoying its chlorophyll midnight snack, but the people in the background must not be.
So should you run out and build one of these then? Well, lumens per dollar wise, I wouldn't call this homebrew MS-47 a slam dunk, totaling $1,087 in parts if you want to build one just like this. So if alien homing beacon levels of light are your goal, you might want to just stick with the MS-18. It's a little easier to wheel around, and they do carry backup battery packs, which is kind of cool. Appreciate you joining us for this. We make
it's only a $600 flashlight? Okay.
Thanks for watching.
I would never... I'm scared. Anyway, I think that's all we got for today. It's a little bit late, so we do gotta sleep. Thank you, guys. Better spend the money on a GPU. Exactly. I'm pretty sure GPUs cost less, too, so it's even a better idea. All right, so I believe we're going to be done for today. I'm going to see... Let me double check, because I believe there is a friend of mine who's streaming today. And they're doing a stream of my favorite game of all time. Yep. Valhalla. So I'm going to send you guys over there. Be nice, of course. Coffee Ninja Ryu. There we go. So, there we go. My friends are playing Valhalla, my favorite game. Make sure you guys save before you go. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be nice, of course. Don't be mean. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye now.